How's it going, folks? I'm Des with DesFit, and this is the brand new HRM-Pro chest heart rate strap from Garmin, which is going to be Garmin's most advanced heart rate strap to date. Now, this isn't just a heart rate strap, it actually does a ton more. So first off, it does collect accurate heart rate for activities like running and cycling, but it also can collect heart rate in the water for swimming. But beyond just heart rate, it can also collect advanced running dynamics, including running power, when paired with a compatible device like the Garmin Forerunner 745, which also came out today. And if you haven't checked out my in-depth review on the 745, I'll have that linked down in the description below. The HRM-Pro also has ANT+ as well as Bluetooth connectivity, so you'll be able to pair the HRM-Pro up with an online cycling training platform like Zwift if you're using an Apple TV or an iPad. And then with ANT+, you'll be able to pair it with an unlimited amount of connections, and with Bluetooth, it has dual Bluetooth connections. So you'll be able to pair the HRM-Pro up with Zwift and then another device that only has Bluetooth. And with the addition of Bluetooth, you'll be able to pair it with your phone. And the reason why that's neat is that the HRM-Pro, it can actually store your heart rate, steps, and intensity minutes on the strap itself, and then it can actually sync up with Garmin Connect on your phone. And you may be asking, why do I necessarily need that? Well, let's say you participate in an activity where wearing a watch isn't necessarily ideal. So let's say something like martial arts or even rock climbing or some team sports, but you still want to be able to collect your heart rate, steps, and intensity minutes so they'll be added to your daily activity total. With the HRM-Pro, it stores all that data on the strap and then it syncs with Garmin Connect so the heart rate during that activity are accounted for in your daily totals. So such as here where I used it for an indoor cycling training session but didn't actually record the activity on the Forerunner 745. However, the other way that you can collect this data is that you can start an activity on your watch and then just put it off to the side somewhere. And the watch doesn't need to be in range of the heart rate strap since the HRM-Pro is storing all the information internally. Once you save the activity, you have the option of downloading that stored heart rate data, which is a very simple process where it searches for the stored data, downloads it, and then processes it. It's actually a very similar process for swimming heart rate. So swim-capable heart rate straps like the HRM-Pro, the HRM Swim, as well as the HRM Tri, they store the heart rate data on the strap itself, and then after the session is done, another device will actually download that data. And the reason for this is that ANT+ as well as Bluetooth, they don't really transmit through the water all that well. Oh, and the HRM-Pro has about 18 hours of internal storage. And then in regards to the actual heart rate that was collected by the HRM-Pro in the water, well, it was pretty much spot on and stayed consistent throughout. I have nothing to complain there. You can swim with the HRM-Pro in both fresh as well as salt water for open water swimming, and it is also designed for occasional pool swimming. The material that the HRM-Pro is made out of doesn't have the resistance to pool chemicals like the HRM Swim, which is actually designed for consistent pool swimming since it's made of more robust materials. It's going to be similar to the HRM Tri, which I actually did break the rules with that one and used it for pool swimming a few times per month, and it was perfectly fine. However, the other reason that you may want to go with an HRM Swim specifically for pool swimming is that the HRM Swim does have a wider strap that has these super grippy bits on it. The strap on the HRM Pro is going to be a little bit narrower than the HRM Swim, so it could potentially flip, especially when you're like pushing off the wall when there's a lot of force. Now, this actually never happened to me, and the HRM Pro always stayed put. So before we get into the running heart rate as well as the advanced running dynamics, let's go ahead and go over the heart rate collector for cycling. To sum it up, it was pretty great. On this mountain bike ride, you can see that it lined up just fine with two other external heart rate sensors, that everything was super tidy. And then on this road ride, same deal. Good stuff and no dropouts or anything weird like that. When it comes to running, the HRM-Pro not only collects heart rate, but it also collects advanced running dynamics, and these are going to be the same that are going to be found on the HRM Run as well as the HRM Tri. But just note that the advanced running dynamics, these are only going to be available over ANT+ and not Bluetooth. Garmin watches already can collect basic running dynamics like cadence and stride length on the wrist itself, but when you pair up and use the HRM-Pro, you'll get a lot more, including your vertical ratio, vertical oscillation, ground contact time balance, ground contact time, as well as running power. And let's go through an example of each of these metrics. Vertical ratio is going to be your ratio of your vertical oscillation to your stride length. So generally, the lower your vertical ratio, the better. For example, on this run, you can see at the beginning of the run, the ratio was quite high as I warmed up and my strides weren't quite as long. Throughout the run, my ratio stayed consistent as I was mainly on flat ground. The peak at the end shows a steep hill, which will definitely have a higher vertical oscillation to stride length ratio. So this could be a beneficial number to look at to get a better gauge of your running efficiency. With vertical oscillation, that's going to be the distance that your torso is moving vertically when you're running. It'll give you your average over the course of the run, and then you can also see a chart of your vertical oscillation as it varies through the course of your run. Ground contact time balance is the percentage of time you spend with each foot on the ground, and again, you can see if this changes during the course of your run and see if there's any asymmetry. And then with ground contact time, that's the amount of time that your foot touches the ground with each stride. In addition to the advanced running dynamics, the HRM-Pro can also collect running power, which you can essentially think of as how much effort you're putting into your run. So running power is becoming more widely adopted, especially in the trail running context where pace isn't necessarily a good gauge on effort because there can be drastic changes in elevation. So with running power, every company kind of measures this differently, and that's not only the number, but also where it's collected. So with the HRM-Pro, that's going to be collected on the chest. There's going to be stride foot pods that live on your shoe, and then there's even running power that's going to be collected on the wrist. So I'm not necessarily interested in the actual number that a device is actually reporting, so like 200 watts versus 300 watts, but I am interested in the trend. So basically, if one device reports an increase in running power, I want to see an increase. If one device records a decrease, I want to see all the devices decrease. So this chart shows the HRM-Pro in light blue, and then the purple line is going to be the stride foot pod, and then the dark blue line is going to be the Chorus Pace 2. And yes, the Pace 2 and the stride foot pod do indeed line up insanely close to each other. Anyhow, like I said, I'm not really interested in the actual power numbers. What I am interested in is when you see an increase in power on one device, the other device reports the same thing. And that is indeed happening here. The trends are pretty much right in line with each other throughout the course of the run, other than a little low point at the end where the HRM-Pro dipped a little bit. And lastly, when it comes to battery life, the HRM-Pro is rated to last up to a year, and it uses a CR2032 battery that's used on a lot of devices out there. You'll replace the battery by removing the little rubber gasket and then using a small screwdriver to remove the cover inside. So that's everything new with the new HRM-Pro from Garmin. So you very well could think of this as an updated HRM Tri that has Bluetooth, kind of like the HRM Dual that I have right here, or you could think of it also as a more capable HRM Run. So Garmin has a lot of different heart rate straps to choose from, but if you can spring for it, the HRM-Pro, I think it's well worth the money just because it is going to be a very capable device and it's going to be Garmin's most advanced heart rate strap to date. Anyhow, if you liked the video, make sure to hit that like button down below, and also check out my in-depth review of the Garmin Forerunner 745, which also came out today, and I'll have that link down in the description below. In the meantime, have fun out there, and we will see you in the next video.